How do I tell Kenneth that I am pregnant for his cousin James? Hey, listen to my story before you judge me. My name is Deborah. I met Kenneth when I was 16 years old about to write my JAM, although I have known him far back but we weren't always talking to each other. On the 26th of February, Ken approached me, asking me to be his girlfriend, and I told him I would think about it. Days turned into weeks and weeks into a month, and I decided to give him a trial. Since there's a popular saying that says there is no harm in trying, and I finally accepted him on the 30th of June, but before I accepted, I asked him, what if the person you love doesn't love you, what will you do? He told me he was ready to wait until I would be able to reciprocate his love. We started dating and did many crazy things. While all this were going on, the third week of July, I found out I was pregnant. I told him about it and he told me to abort it, but I bluntly refused, telling him that abortion was not my thing. He insisted and insisted, but I stood my ground of no abortion, and then he started behaving strange all of a sudden. I will go to his house, he will send me out. On several occasions I have seen him making out with other ladies. He will beg and cry and I will forgive him. Because of the pregnancy I couldn't fight for admission despite the fact that I scored 276 in JAM. But Ken proceeded to the university and I wished him the best, hoping that things would turn out good one day. But as the saying goes, their wishes are not horses to ride on. Days keeps on moving and this pregnancy is becoming obvious. My mom found out about the pregnancy. I refused telling her who was responsible despite the threat and everything I went through, because I wanted protecting my Ken, because I have grown to love him so much, and that was my mistake. Ken proceeded to the university and I stayed at home after my refusal to tell my parents who was responsible for the pregnancy. I was asked to go and stay with my dad, who was a policeman in Port Harcourt, although we were all staying together in Calabar before he got posted there. I was asked to go over to Port Harcourt to avoid being laughed at by my friends. Yes, that was how much my parents loved me. Congratulations to me. I gave birth to a boy and named him Richard. While I and Ken were always chatting and calling each other. Unknown to me that Ken now had another girlfriend who was also in the same department with him at school, and he never told me about it. After everything, I came down to Calabar during December. After 2 years I left Calabar, and to my utmost surprise, Ken has totally changed and someone I can't imagine to be. The first day I went to his place, we made out, and after that he asked me to leave, and when I asked him why, he said his girlfriend was on her way coming to visit him, and when I asked him who I was, he said I'm his baby mama. Loss. I left Ken's place heartbroken, but as they say, love is blind. After 3 days Ken called me and apologized, and I forgave him. After the Christmas period, I went back to Port Harcourt, and after 2 weeks I found out I was pregnant again for Ken. When I told him about it, he asked me to abort it, that he wasn't ready to father a second child and that he was too young and all that, and I told him that I don't have such money. He asked me to come down to Calabar so that he can take me to a doctor, and I decided to go. When I asked him where I was going to stay, 'cause I can't go to my mom's place, he said I would be staying at his cousin's place. I asked him what happened to his house, that I can't stay there. He said that he was owing rent, which I knew he was lying, but I reluctantly agreed to stay at his cousin's place. When I got to Calabar, he took me over to his cousin's place and introduced me to his cousin, whose name was James, and he told James that I might be staying for 2 to 3 weeks, and James said it was okay. I thanked him and settled in. When it was night, I decided to sleep on the floor in order to avoid creating a wrong impression or motive. You know that when you sleep on a man's bed, he might want to take advantage of you, thinking that you are desperate. But despite the fact that I slept on the floor, James still approached me, telling me how his cousin have been telling him good things about me, and I said okay. At around 2 a.m. I felt a hand touching me. I got startled and woke up low, and behold, it was James. He was stark naked. James told me that he fell in love with me the very moment he set his eyes on me. I told him that I am his brother's girlfriend and I can't do anything with him. He left me and went back to bed. When Ken came the next morning to take me to the doctor, on our way going, I told him what transpired at night and I begged him to please talk to his brother. He said okay, he would try. When we got to the hospital, the doctor told us that we can only do the abortion by flushing it out and we will need like 30,000 naira for that. Ken said he didn't have such amount, that I should keep the pregnancy and he will be checking up on me. Days turned into weeks and Ken did not come to check up on me as he had promised. And I almost died of hunger because James refused feeding me, saying that I am not in any way related to him and the only way he can feed me is if he has 3 eggs with me. That was confusing. Should I keep my integrity and die of hunger? Cause it seems Ken has abandoned me. He has even stopped picking my calls. I decided to oblige to James' request and we started having S3X. And James kept on having S3X until my time for delivery. If you were in my shoes, what would you have done? Would you have kept your integrity as a woman and died of hunger? On the day I finally gave birth, it was on the 10th of September. A day I would never forget in a hurry. I gave birth to a male child, but I lost him. I couldn't stop crying. James called Ken and told him about it, but Ken said he was too busy and won't be able to come. I stayed for more than 1 week, but still Ken was yet to come and I decided to visit him. When I got to his house, he was surprised seeing me and quickly apologized for not coming. He told me he had been too busy in school and had no time at all. I forgave him and we moved on. I went back to James' place and he was angry and asked why I visited him. I quickly apologized and everything went back to normal. One day I went to Ken's place unannounced and what I saw and experienced broke me. I saw him with a girl and he told me to my face that she is his girlfriend and he told the girl that he doesn't know me. He didn't even tell the girl that I had given birth for him. That was not even the worst. The worst part of it was that this girl, Oda, was my sister from my maternal family. There and then, I decided within me to take revenge on Ken with his brother, and that was the worst mistake I had ever made. I continued having S3X with James and never minded or think about what people will say when they hear about it. And Ken also continued with Oda, not minding that she was my relative and Ken my boyfriend. I and James kept on having an affair. He even took me to his mom and I was welcomed into the family. When I told my friend about my decision, she kicked against it and warned me about the repercussions, but I never cared to listen. Oda later left Ken and I got pregnant for James and all my effort to abort the pregnancy was futile. Now I'm stuck with 2 children from 2 brothers. How do I explain this to my children in future? What will be my excuses? Indeed, my life is destroyed. The end. Thanks for reading. Like, share and comment your thought to unlock more interesting stories like this.